this is a brave space for learning. It's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I need help. It's okay to make mistakes because that's where the learning happens. We use the word brave because I feel just being in the room requires a little bit of courage. The very fact that you woke up, got dressed, came into the room with us, whether virtually or in person, that's brave. And we wanted to acknowledge that.
Hello, and welcome to Power Beyond Pride, a weekly queer change-making podcast, bringing you voices and ideas from across our fierce and fabulous spectrum to transform our world. I'm Melodie KG, a Minneapolis-based artivist and provocateur.
And I'm Shane Lukas. I'm a lifelong activist, owner of a great idea, and person still waiting for my superhero powers to kick in. True facts. Melodie and I are your co-hosts for today's Queercast journey. And in this episode, we are talking to business and life partners Tay and Val, who co-founded Modern Mind Labs, a global practice that supports companies like Amazon, Booking.com, and many more around the world to create and implement wellness-based DEIB-informed, culture-coherent leadership and team development initiatives. That's a lot. That's a lot to say. Welcome, Tay and Val.
Thank you so much for being here today. What a power couple. I am honored to be in your presence. Thanks for joining us on Power Beyond Pride.
Happy to meet both of you and everyone who's listening in. This voice belongs to Tay. I use she, her pronouns.
And this voice belongs to Val. I use she, they pronouns.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you here. And I think I would love to know, what's the story behind Modern Mind Labs? Your positivity just shines through on so many of your social channels. So I'd love to hear a bit about the story that informed your work.
I think the way people tend to remember us are the two queer people who live and work together. They survived a bicycle trip around the world. And therefore, that gives us the street creds to teach the things we teach at Modern Mind Labs, which essentially are mindfulness and emotional intelligence skills so that leaders lead better, teams function better. And I think essentially that will lead to a better world.
Yeah, we started this business really teaching mindfulness and meditation. By doing pop-up events, we wanted to bring mindfulness to the modern person. Like, you may not necessarily want to sit cross-legged and close your eyes for an entire hour to meditate for the modern person. So how can we make mindfulness accessible, bite-sized, so that everyone can enjoy some of the benefits of it? So we kind of branded it as Modern Mind Labs. Yeah, something that you be curious about, you experiment about, you just try and see if it works for you.
Yeah. And then through those pop-up events, because we were based in Seattle, a lot of our participants were coming in from the companies that were based there. And then later, we found ourselves speaking at conferences and they brought us into their companies. And when the pandemic hit, we pivoted online and we realized that people needed a lot more than just mindfulness. And I think if anything else, if I were to be brutally honest, even though I was in that business at that time, mindfulness probably added to the anxiety, right, of a certain population. And so we then added in the element of emotional intelligence, because at the end of the day, you can be self-aware, but then once you have the awareness that, oh, I am feeling feelings of anger, I'm feeling feelings of helplessness, I'm feeling fear, what do you do with them? Those are emotions, right? You got to give people skills to navigate those emotions and then come out of it on the other side, I think, more powerful, because now you know what to do with the energy that's surging through your body. Yeah.
Wow. If I may ask, so Val, when you say that, can you both kind of explain mindfulness more broadly? Like, to people who might not understand mindfulness itself, maybe there's a way to kind of explain that for people to kind of understand what you mean when you say mindfulness.
Mindfulness simply means becoming aware of your own thoughts, your own emotions, what's going on in your body, and then in relation to the environment around you. So just becoming aware is the basic definition of it.
And as a follow-up to that, I think there's so much there between mindfulness and emotional intelligence. And it all started with this bike ride around the world. So interesting. Could you talk a little bit about what and not necessarily in terms of credentials, but like what lived experience and what if any frameworks you use to think about this work and to present this work to others? Like, where did your practice originate?
So I was born into a family that believed that meditation can cure my ADHD. So I was sent to the temple where meditation is taught like it's an Olympic sport, like in a very competitive way. And the teacher would hold a wooden stick and tap you. You're not sitting straight and you are fidgeting and your eyes are darting everywhere because you totally do not feel safe. That was the experience that I was brought up with. And that was the experience that I did not want people to have. And so when we created those meditation pop-up events, because I have personally benefited from the benefits of being able to not shut my brain up, because that's not humanly possible, whether you are ADHD or not. Your brain is supposed to think. If it's not, get an fMRI. But to be clear of the thoughts that are in my head, which are mine, which aren't, and I can just put them down, hang the phone up, and what to do about them. And so I wanted to offer these benefits without the pain that I was put through. And so that was the number one lens that filters through all our experiences, all the things that we create, is how can people feel welcomed, included, and have the permission to participate in whichever ways feels wholesome to them. Now, I'm not going to say that this is a safe space for you, because that's for you to determine. But I'm going to do my best to create the parameters, to create these permissions of engagement so that you are able to have that agency to create that experience for yourself.
So right from the beginning, when we started teaching mindfulness and meditation, we offer our participants the options to not close their eyes. And you don't have to sit a certain way. You don't have to do this from what you see on popular media, right? Because if it doesn't work for you, it is not going to work for you, right? You can build it up to maybe that standard that you think it needs to be. But at the very beginning, how can you just be comfortable with your thoughts? Be comfortable with your body. Be comfortable with things that are going on in the world. And with marginalized communities, we might never get there, right? I will never meditate in an airport. Like I will never meditate in a crowded space just because there's no safety in the environment. And we need to draw boundaries. We need to know what is beneficial for us and what is not. And just being able to decide that for ourselves is an awareness, is power coming back to ourselves. Yeah.
That's incredible. Val, your story of being put into a box with your neurodivergence, which I very much align with as well, as someone who also has ADHD and has practiced. Yeah. We're birds of a feather here.
We're all in that. We all share in that.
Yeah. And as someone who has done various iterations of practicing different types of mindfulness and meditation, the way that I have seen it practiced or put upon me to practice is like very prescriptive often, right? And it's, you don't need to cure me of my ADHD through this thing. And to your point, Tay, when we do use it in that sort of way, like it doesn't have to be you sit crisscross with your eyes closed. Like it's really about trying to find what works for you and feels good for you. So both of what you both just said really resonates, and I think is such an important body of work that you've developed in kind of modernizing, but also like almost decolonizing some of this talk around mindfulness and meditation and emotional intelligence. I love that. I think that's so beautiful.
And Tay, if I can add on to that, I think what's really powerful in what you shared also is looking at what it means when we are talking about diverse communities that are approaching the concept and what we talk about when we talk about mindfulness. Can you speak a little bit about more of that, especially in this particular moment where conversations around equity and inclusion have just gotten fraught, where the values that have driven much of that conversation have been called into question. When we talk about queer inclusion, we talk about BIPOC communities, and we talk about this, and kind of, I guess, your response to that in terms of bringing mindfulness into these conversations, but also recognizing there's such a hostility right now in just bringing conversations of inclusion and reframing experiences to be inclusive of many communities and lived experiences. Could you possibly talk about that?
I think what's alive for me right now to share is I'm a very emotionally connected person, emotionally connected to everyone and everything. So there is a lot of fear. Let's just call it. There's a lot of fear everywhere, in every corner, right? Just to share an example, in the last few months, we've been hunkered down in the house, making videos, showing up online for the simple reason that we cannot go join a protest in person because we're immigrants. We're green card holders. But right now, it doesn't feel safe to participate in community that way. So we decided to show up in a different way. But because we were in the house for 2 weeks, we never left the house, didn't go to the garden. My neighbors one day texted us and said, "Hey, Val, are you okay? If you're not at home, I can water your plants for you." But I felt the underlying resonance in that question. Everyone knows we are not safe. My neighbors are looking out for me. They're asking, "Are you okay? Are you at home? Are you here with us?" And even though I felt the first wave of, wow, people care for me, the second wave was deep and strong and true. The fear. It's not just me. Everyone around me is fearful. And when you feel that 24/7 in your body as a marginalized person or as a minority, we're not just immigrants, we're Asians, we're queer. It comes like a combo cocktail. What do you do? Constantly, I have to constantly 24/7 practice, right? Okay, what are my true thoughts right now? What is mine? What is the society trying to tell me to think right now? What am I really feeling in the body right now? Can I give it 5 minutes to feel completely this terror, this fear, this everything, this combo cocktail in my body? I give it 5 minutes. And if after 5 minutes it's still there, it's okay. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I go to Val. Help me. But be very aware of what is yours and what is not. And only then can you just deal with what is yours. What can you own that you can take care of? And what is not yours, can we just put it down for a bit? Like, I don't have to deal with everything at one go. And if you still work in an inclusion space and you're holding space for others, oftentimes we are not trained. We hold space for others with our bodies. Like, we just take on all the emotions and pile it onto us. And then the path of that is burnout. So as space holders, how do you create brave space and still hold space for yourself? And it's a very simple discernment of what is yours and what is not, that allow other people to feel the feelings that they feel without having to fix, without having to solve, because there's no real solution right now other than just, I'm here, right? But it takes you to know who you are in order to say, I'm here, without losing yourself.
Tay, that was incredible. Really amazing answer. And I want to talk more about that with you all. For now, it's time to take a very short break, but please stay tuned to this fantastic episode of Power Beyond Pride, where we are in conversation with power couple Tay and Val. Welcome back. This is Power Beyond Pride, a queer change-making podcast, and I'm Melodie KG, here with my co-host,
Shane,
talking with two amazing folks, Tay and Val. Let's continue with what we were discussing right before going into the break.
There was something really powerful, Tay and Val, that I really caught my ear, because it's so much in conversation among activists and has been for a little while, yet while now around the idea of safe space. And I think you touched on it a little bit, but it's really such an interesting point, because I hear still like some of it feels a little dated conversations around like, how do we create safe space? And some of it holds a little bit of critique about what safe space really means, especially when we are talking about people from BIPOC community members of different gender diversities, like just what safe space means versus other terms like courageous, brave. I'd love for you to share a little bit about your thoughts around that, because you're so thoughtful around the spaces you construct and encourage and co-create.
We are very cognizant that there is never 100% safe space for 100% of the population. So I think it's important when we walk into, say, a room or a setting or a workshop, and when we are the space holders, we define what this safety is. For example, if it's a workshop, we always say that this is in fact, we don't use safe, we say brave. This is a brave space for learning. And what does that mean? That means that it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I need help. It's okay to make mistakes, because that's where the learning happens. Right? I think it's important to define what this space is, quote unquote, safe for, and not assume that people are going to take it at face value. Like I said earlier, you can do your best to set up the different parameters required to enable that person to feel that. But, we're all coming in at different points of our lives. Sometimes we're coming in after a really big loss. Sometimes we're coming in hangry. Right? Sometimes we're coming in from a really emotionally charged meeting, right? And we're humans. So we're going to bring all of that into the room with us. And because of interneurobiology, everyone else in the room is going to feel it. That's the thing that you're working with. So to come in and want to wipe the slate clean and say, everybody, this is a space, you're demanding a lot of the people who just, for some of them just met you for less than 2 seconds. I think you need to give people permission. You need to give people agency to say, you know what, I'll determine for myself what I'm comfortable, what I feel empowered, what I feel supported to do in this space. So that's the kind of way we approach it. And we always say, we use the word brave because I feel like just being in the room requires a little bit of courage. Because trust me, there are days where you probably will feel a lot better just under your sheets. And the very fact that you woke up, got dressed, came into the room with us, whether virtually or in person, that's brave. And we wanted to acknowledge that. And that's why we use brave space. Yeah.
And I think we can think about brave space or safe space at 3 different levels, right? Think about creating this safe space for yourself first. What does that mean? If I were to create safe, brave space for myself, what does that mean? It means I'm going to talk to myself with kindness. I'm going to allow all the thoughts that I have to emerge without bashing them down. So what does it mean to first create that safe and brave space for yourself? Can we even embody it ourselves before we start offering it to other people? I mean, we don't have to be perfect, but can we start there? Right?
I think especially so in the queer community, where a lot of us don't even feel safe in our own bodies, right? That space really needs to come from within. I'm not saying fix yourself. I'm not saying the burden is on you. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, can you allow yourself to feel even that unsafety without pushing it away? Because that resistance, that dissonance, that job of pushing it away is what is burning you out.
And once we're able to acknowledge the things that we are feeling, we're able to then say, what do I need from you? But then we'll then be able to walk into a space and say, this is why I need to feel safe here, right? Then there's a co-creation of safe space. It's not just, I say this is a safe space, so you jolly well feel that this is safe. No, it's a back and forth conversation. Like a community, when we come together, creates that space that is safe. It's an unspoken norm. It's how people behave amongst each other. Yes, we start with rules, but there's always contribution. That's how we all come in and create it together.
And then I think at the third level is the level of systems, right? And that's the level that we all hope to work at, to see it rippling out at the systemic level. But I think sometimes we're so obsessed, right, with fixing the system that we forget that the system is made out of human beings who first need to talk to each other, come to an agreement. And for us to do that, like Tay was saying earlier, we need to know what we need ourselves.
Wow. Tay and Val, so incredible. I think about too in spaces where I've been a facilitator, especially around some racial equity work. There's a lot to unpack, especially not only if you're in a workplace doing a facilitation, you have those power dynamics of like supervisors and employees, but then there's also things like racial identity. And in spaces where you're trying to co-create this brave space so that you can even start to begin doing whatever thing you're trying to do as a group, there's a lot of probably pre-work that has to happen before you can even get there. And so I'm wondering, from your perspective, like, how are historically and also in this current moment, like, how are folks showing up with these sort of racialized, gendered power dynamics in response to your sort of like trying to co-create this space together? Does that make sense?
If I understand your question correctly, I think our philosophy has always been to meet people where they are. If you come in with your arms crossed, right, then you come in with your arms crossed. I don't have to, I can let you be, right? If you come in with your cameras not on, I can let you be. It's a practice to not see this as something coming towards me, but this is exactly how this person needs to show up right now. And if in that space or in your journey with them, there's one moment this person puts down their hand, then you need to acknowledge that we cannot take it for granted that people went through a journey in their minds, in their bodies, in their hearts to think of something that was maybe not right for them in their minds. And then they give it a second chance. They have curiosity about it, or they took a breath around the topic. Like, acknowledge that, acknowledge the effort. Because we are talking about things that our brains are not on our side for, right? Our brains are biased. This is our brain. This is the natural aspect of our brains because of survival. I always say, I walk in, we talk about diversity. Every time I walk into the room as a queer Asian immigrant, I am not looking for diversity. I am looking for my own people. But we use the word diversity. The brain doesn't like diversity. We're always fighting with this brain because diversity does not equal to survival, right? If I were to be honest, I'm looking for my own people who look like me. And then I have to train my brain that it's okay. I belong here. But we first have to understand the mechanism of how the brain works and stop making people wrong, right? Because if I'm going to make this person wrong, then I'm also going to make myself wrong because I'm looking for my people. I just call it diversity.
Can we nerd out a little bit here?
Please. Would love to nerd out.
Light travels the fastest. So if you're able to see, right, that's the first thing your brain is going to use, right? Are we of the same color? Are we of the same gender? Are we of the same whatever we can see, right? And if we want to really connect, you have to give it a little bit more energy. You have to work a little bit harder. You have to ask connecting questions, right? Sometimes people ask you, where are you from? It's because they generally want to connect. It's not because they're trying to be microaggressive. They're not trying to other you. They genuinely are interested. So it takes, I think, both parties to meet each other and put in that little bit of energy, right? And then listen. And sound travels just a little bit slower. You have to put in the energy. But alluding to what you were saying, Melodie, we are in this super tense climate right now. If this is the line where people are operating that, a lot of us, our energy levels are below the line. So we're not able to rise to the occasion. We're just going to default to our systems. And that's why we go in, we use our eyes, and we try to put ourselves into whichever similar boxes we can with whoever else is in there. I think if everyone understands what is happening and everyone understands what our brains are doing, not what we are doing, but what our minds are doing, it becomes a little bit less personal, less identity based, and just more human.
That was just really powerful because it's really talking about the conflict that we get in our just neurological immediate responses to try to look for initially what we respond to and connect to just on our own, somebody who looks similar, all of that. But it may come into contrast with our values, right? Like I want to create an experience where I'm curious, where I get to learn about other cultures, connect to other communities. And I think people get to this sort of this discomfort of trying to navigate those two feelings at the same time. I want to feel this space. And so I love that you're encouraging that bravery, that courageousness among the space. And I would love to, we're going to take a minute now. I would love to come back and maybe talk about any other strategies that you would suggest. I think you shared a little bit, Val, about maybe some of the ways that we can talk to ourselves and have our internal conversation. I'm curious if there are any other strategies that you could share with other people about ways to respond to the people who might push back from it, who might have that harder time. Like you said, Tay, people who come in with their arms crossed. It sounds like you want to create space for them to sort of let down some of that guard a little bit. But are there different strategies organizers and activists and other community members who want to create these brave spaces can also do to help create a foundation for where those spaces are possible, is what I'm thinking about. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back in a minute to talk about that a little bit more, plus a speed round of questions to get to know Tay and Val even more. And we look forward to it. See us in a few minutes. Right back with Power Beyond Pride. Welcome back to Power Beyond Pride, where we are talking with Tay and Val, founders of Modern Mind Lab. I'm Shane Lukas, here with my phenomenal co-host,
Melodie KG.
So amazing. I love doing this every time because we get to meet amazing people, Melodie. This is always so amazing. And spending time with you, Tay and Val, is so, again, hearing your perspective is so powerful. And before break, we talked a little bit about ways that we can incorporate your insights and some of the things you've shared today around mindfulness and creating brave spaces and co-creating brave spaces. Any other tips or ways that we can think about framing things as we're building movements?
Tia and I, we have an agreement, and that is to whichever project that we take on, we will keep each other anchored in our intention. I think a lot of people think about the outcome without thinking about why it's important. And so for us, intention is always going to be the cornerstone we set that is going to inform everything. And so that intention is what you carry into the room with you, is what you carry into the protest with you, is what you carry into court with you, right? For whatever movement or change that you're trying to create. So getting super, super clear of your personal stake, your stake at a personal level, and then getting super clear about the stake for your community, and then getting super clear about the stake at a systemic level, and then never losing sight of that. I think it's the number one thing, the most beneficial thing that you can do for the sanity and well-being of yourself, and also for the change that you're actually trying to effect.
Does it help to write that down? Does it help to formalize it? Or does it need to be something you kind of spend a little bit more time reflecting?
Intention?
Yeah.
We always write it down and then we revisit it. And then we make sure we are both on the same page with it. If we ever need to change it, then we just realign it, right? It's an evolving thing that you have to constantly remind yourself of. It's very easy. Say we start a podcast, right? And then we set an intention maybe to connect with people, to have difficult conversation. Maybe that was the intention, to provide healing, to provide space, provide community. And then down the road, maybe 100 episodes later, it's like, why do we only have 100 viewers, subscribers? And then we start chasing numbers. And then we lose sight of the intention of what we're doing in the first place. It's so easy for us to go there, right? Because the algorithms are like that. The systems are like that right now. So you have to be able to not hold yourself accountable, but keep yourself anchored. Give yourself a peace of mind. You are on the right path. You are taking an aligned journey. You have to reassure yourself of that in this noisy environment.
That's a really great point. And I'm wondering, so as someone who, I mean, we're all on this call, we all have our own kind of lines of businesses that we operate. And something that I often struggle with is like finding that balance between putting something really authentic into the world with intention and also like, how do I get my bills paid? So like, how do you, right? So when you are thinking about like your best case scenario, your best case client, your best case sort of facilitation project around mindfulness and emotional intelligence, how do you negotiate and balance that between like taking a big corporate client who might show up however they will, but pay a lot versus someone who like maybe really needs a service or a support, but putting energy into that can't pay your bills? Like, how do you navigate through that as business owners?
I think of it in terms of little Val. So if little Val had parents working in this particular organization, right? And that organization is paying for, indirectly paying for little Val's education, meals on the table, and whatnot. I'm going to show up there because whatever the organization does, I'm showing up for the people within the organization. And if we want said organization to be more vocal, we want them to stand for something, we have to give skills and power to the people within the organization to do so. I'm a big fan of Trojan horsing messages.
Yes.
Right? Or Trojan horsing tools and power, right? I'm going to sell, and I'm not ashamed of that. I'm going to sell whatever the company needs, but I'm going to meet the people exactly where they are and give them what they didn't know they have been asking for. And that has been the feedback we have received. And I'm going to keep doing that.
I think that's powerful that you're trying, really thinking about how to connect, because, you know, the systems that we live in, and I just want to go back to the 3 levels that you talked about that are really powerful, right? You have your individual, you have your interrelational, and you have these sort of systems. And individually, as activists, oftentimes we're like, we can change the system, but we can't do that unless we do it collectively. And sometimes learning to how to navigate that system and beginning to reframe the conversation in the system and try to get in there a little bit, again, without letting the system co-opt you. That's why I love the idea of having your intention to begin the conversation, to have that intention at the start. But then to actually recognize we can change the system, but we have to convince the system it wants to change and kind of start to move into this channel. And it's really powerful to me, again, also in light of what you shared before around what it means to go into rooms to create brave spaces. And when we're talking about privilege, and when we talk about people with privilege, because we're talking about a lot of those decision makers and people in these companies and in these systems, right, who have taken advantage of those systems, who are taking advantage of those systems, and really trying to get them to change the way they approach those decisions. I guess, how do you, when I think about this, I think about this discomfort that comes from people who don't want to yield to change, right? They don't always see that they themselves, because they're not practiced in it, right? If I'm coming into it and I'm a successful person and this system has worked for me, so now I've got to go in there and we're talking about these changes, and I'm not practiced in a place of discomfort. And yet other people may be coming in from other challenges, either from experience oppression or not being in a position where they could make decisions in the same way. And they've already negotiated what it's like to deal with other people's stuff and all of that discomfort. How do you navigate those systems to encourage change from people who are more resistant to yielding some of that change? Are there things that you do that help, if you will, deliver that Trojan horse? Are there things that help get that done so that people can manage that resistance easier?
I think you said so yourself earlier, Shane. You said, how do we convince the system that itself that it wants to change, right? So we have found that wherever the resistance is coming from, whether from the privileged or the majority population, or even from people living in the margins themselves, that the real change happens when agency is given back to them. That when they think or when they realize that this was their idea all along. I'll give you an example. We were hired by an energy company based in the Midwest. It's a very old company.
We cannot say any.
We cannot say which company, but it's an energy company. And everyone who has any power of any sort identifies as the majority. And so they brought us in to do a diversity and inclusion training series. So we were to journey with them for a year. And they only did it because they had to check a box for, again, something that we couldn't say. So it was like I gotta do this because I gotta do this, right? And so you can imagine that most people in the rooms, they came in with their arms crossed, eyebrow raised.
Why do I need
like, why am I doing this? At the end of our first session, the coordinator that we were working with sent us a screenshot of, I think it was like internal, like their Slack channel or something. And the feedback was, I had to walk out. Like last week, I was at a DEI conference. I had to walk out of that room, but I stayed through today's session. I cannot wait for the next one. Because the whole time it was a diversity and inclusion session. We did not use the word diversity to begin with. And we did not tell them what to think. We presented facts. We had them experience what it feels like to be included. And then we asked them to think about, why was this work important for them? What is their personal stake? Why would they, beyond being have to, right? Why would they want to come and spend the next 12 sessions with us?
I mean, if you walk up to somebody and say, you need to change, whoever this person is, the first response you're going to get is, why? Why don't you change?
I'll be like, did I put my shirt on wrong? Because that's very possible. I could very well, if you said that to me, I'd be like, I put something on inside out. I'm sure that happened. I'm sure that.
The human brain does not like change. Whoever you are, the brain does not like change, right? So we don't come in on a hot topic by using you, or we address why change is hard. So people come to an understanding of what's going on with their thoughts, with their body, when they're experiencing challenges. And then they figure out for themselves, oh, maybe that was what was happening to me. And when they do that, they have already let their arms down. Because they're thinking for themselves. They want to change. They want to be better. I have to believe that all of us, every single human being, wants to improve, because improvement itself is a psychological need.
Yeah, it's a core human
being.
We
want to progress. We want to improve. We want to be a better person by our own definition. You work with the humanity of it. I don't always remember, right? I always also have, it is a practice for myself to stay in the moment. If you realize you are reacting, just return to being present. It is a practice, a moment-to-moment practice. What it means to be human.
Well, we've got some moments we would like to have with you right now, because now we want to get to know you both a little bit better. Thank you for sharing all that.
I'm so nervous. Why does this make me nervous?
This is going to be fun.
Moving into rapid fire round. Where was your first date?
Mexico. We were born and raised in Singapore. It can't be safe. We want a work trip in Mexico. We came out to each other then, and yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Wait, so, okay, well, I want details, but we're just going to save that for a dinner together, because this sounds amazing. So okay, so what's a New Year's resolution you'd like to keep?
We don't set New Year resolutions.
That's great. I love that for you.
Fair enough. Great answer.
Well, what about a different tradition? Is there a tradition maybe from Singapore or from your time on the West Coast? What's a tradition you cherish?
Every Lunar New Year, we would open our house, cook traditional dishes and invite all our non-Chinese friends and community members to have a cultural experience with us. And we give people permission to taste the food and spit it out if they don't like it. We give people permission to butcher, trying to say words of blessings in Mandarin. I think overall it's just a really low stakes way to get to know each other at a more meaningful and really human level.
That's amazing. You're creating safe spaces all over, or brave spaces. I love it.
Tasty spaces. I say tasty spaces because that sounds delicious. And I want an invitation to that because that sounds amazing.
We're both on the list.
The only thing I can't have are mushrooms. Everything else, fair game. I am all about it. So I'm all
I'll
about
keep
it.
that in mind.
So while I haven't figured out my superpower yet, I do want to know if you got to choose your superhero names, what would they be and why?
Tay and Val.
There we go. I love it.
You know, this is actually really true and resonate for us. Tay and Val are not our real names, right? We have my birth name is Xiang Hui Tay, and my Tay is my last name.
Yeah, and my birth name is Xin Hui Tian. Val is not even in it.
But when we came together and decided that we were going to go traveling around the world, the first consideration was people are not going to remember Xiang Hui Tay and Xin Hui Val. I was like, okay, Xin Hui Tan, what's that? They look similar, they sound similar. So we came up with Tay and Val. But it wasn't just a way for us to get the easy way out or let other people get the easy way out. Tay and Val was a version of us, the best version of us that we aspire to be, that we keep growing into every day.
Yeah, so Tay and Val are our superheroes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's almost like your drag names. Like together you're a drag act and it's Tay and Val. I love it.
So if there's something that Tay, like Xiang Hui Tay cannot do, and it'll be, can Tay and Val do it? Do it.
Yes. Okay. I'm picturing costumes. I'm picturing merch. This is very cute. Amazing.
Okay, how about this? Do you have a theme song? Is there a theme song that gets you going?
We're going to sound really boring if you don't come up with an answer.
Just got to be yourself. If you don't have a theme song, you don't have a theme song. I want to make one up for you because I feel like Tay and Val, I feel like we got to add like a Tay and Val theme song.
If you're listening and you're a creator and you have a theme song just sounding in your brain just as you listen to our story, send us a note. Let's collaborate.
I love it. We got to get a theme song. A theme song for Tay and Val. I'm on board with this. I love it.
Maybe Higher Ground from, it's like a 70s funk song. I forget who sings
I keep
it.
thinking of the Red Hot Chili Peppers version, but it's Stevie Wonder is the original.
Yeah, Stevie Wonder.
Right?
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
that one could be cute.
That's a good one. It's a good one. I think I definitely see something kind of funky and in motion. Y'all bring so much great energy and it's just such a gift to have you both here today. So I one other question. So what does Power Beyond Pride mean to you?
I think pride is one facet, and Power Beyond Pride means inviting all of your facets, including the ones that are not as colorful, not as shiny, not as fabulous, but are still welcomed home.
That is beautiful. I'm going to tear up. I think that was so beautiful.
Cry.
Beautifully said, Val. Thank you so much. That's so powerful. Thank you.
How about you, Tay? Or is that just the Tay and Val
The
answer?
wife did it all. I've been on stage with her for, 12 years?
Just stop counting. You just butchered numbers.
She always say, once you say something powerful,
Done.
like,
Mic drop. Yes.
It's a mic drop.
quiet.
Let it land. That was what I said. Let it land.
Amazing. And it did. It really landed. Well done. Beautifully said. Where can people follow you in your work?
We just birthed a Substack, which we found has more room for us to create the exact space that we want for folks to join us. So please look for us on Substack. There is only, the last I checked, there's only one Tay and Val, and the name of our Substack is called Chopsticks at a Pork Party.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Tay and Val, for being here. Everyone, please follow them also on their socials, on your LinkedIn. You always share so many great tips and ideas on your LinkedIn. So I also want to encourage people to follow you there and then support your Substack. It is such a phenomenal sharing that you really provide. It's really a gift. I'm Shane Lukas. I'm a lifelong activist, owner of a great idea, and a person pretty sure I saw a squirrel conquer my bird feeder a few minutes ago. You can find me at shanelukas.com, at greatidea.com, or on my socials at WeAreAGI.
And I'm your co-host, Melodie KG, a Minneapolis-based artivist and provocateur. You can follow me on Instagram at Melodie KG, also on Substack at Public Nuisance Feminist. Please remember to subscribe and get your friends to subscribe to Power Beyond Pride on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And check out our site at powerbeyondpride.com.
Power Beyond Pride is a project from A Great Idea, a queer-owned design and content agency. Learn more about them at agreatidea.com.
This episode is produced by our Shane Lukas. Smeeter Sarkar is the project developer. Our editor is Jarrett Redding with support from Ian Wilson.
Melodie and I are both part of the podcast Awesome Host team, and we invite you to send us your questions and comments at the powerbeyondpride.com site or through our social channel.
Check out our new episodes each week, and we look forward to queer change making with you next time. Thank you from all of us at Power Beyond Pride.